The University of Ghana Vice-Chancellor Professor Ebenezer Owusu, in an exclusive interview, also categorically denies allegations of sexual harassment against him by CEO of Africa Integra's Andrea Pizziconi. In a tweet, Andrea Pizziconi alleged that the SexForGrades investigative piece that incorporated some lecturers at the University of Ghana resonates deeply with her. But Professor Owusu says the woman is only bitter. He's been speaking with my colleague Justice Beidou here in Accra.
You just need to treat it with the contempt that it deserves. You've seen me, and you can tell. Personally, I would describe the lady as somebody who is desperate, somebody who is bitter, and extremely angry. She's full of anger and frustrated because she had a project running. She intended to invest 64 million. And then the investor was going to pay out of that when completed, 25 million every year for the next 25 years. So 25 million every year for 25 years, up to 600 million. Yes. And now it gets to a point where she's unable to continue. Obviously, she will struggle, because by now she would be sitting back, counting her golden eggs. And those golden eggs are not coming anymore. So obviously she would do whatever. So I personally am not too surprised at what she's doing, because truly it's something that I anticipated could happen, and it's happened.
Now, Prof, you described this woman as someone who is bitter. But this is a decision that was taken by the university, and like you say, it's something that, according to you, you justifiably took. Why would he then be making this allegation at your person?
Yeah, because she thinks I'm the leader. Yes, she thinks I'm the leader. She had said several times that I'd never granted her the audience that I should have granted her. The fact of the matter is that I decided that I don't work as an individual. I work in a team. So you can't be meeting me as an individual. So whenever you come, be prepared to meet the team. And she protested. So she felt I didn't want to open up to her. Yes. So she expressed a bit of anger at my approach towards these things. But I'd make sure that anytime she came, she met with senior management. The only time that she booked an appointment that she wanted to meet with me in my office, deep down in my heart, something told me no. And that was the last time I had an interaction with her.
All right, so joining us on phone now is the CEO of Africa Integra's, Andrea Pizziconi, and we'll be speaking with her in a bit. But we'll go over onto Twitter, because she has, in the last few hours, put out on Twitter that she never ever alleged that the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana sexually harassed her. But let's check out some of the tweets that she had posted or previously. Let's go to the first. So here she says, Andrea Pizziconi, please see my response to articles quoting the VC, denying my earlier remarks on social media. To be clear, I never accused him of harassment. Rather than chase me around a table, he refused to invite me to the table, dismissing me instead as just a pretty face. Related issues, of course. So this is her statement saying that she never accused the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana of sexually harassing her. But if you go to her previous tweet, the initial tweet, which spawned the conversation that we're having now, she makes some reference. I'm trying to get to that, but we can also get on the phone now and get to speak with Andrea. Hello, Andrea.
Hi.
All right, so thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, you talk about the fact that you never, ever actually accused the University of Ghana Vice-Chancellor of sexually harassing you, but I've been monitoring your Twitter timeline, and it appears you fed into the SexForGrades scandal and continued to make remarks or retweeted suggestions that he actually sexually harassed you. Why does it appear that you're shifting your position now?
Not shifting at all.
All right.
The point that I'm trying to make, and it's a very important point for some reason, and I think this is part of the education of the ecosystem of misogyny and the commodification of women. The line, the parallel, is the fact that these women are under incredible undergrad. We did a focus group. 90% of the girls said that they're being pressured by at least one professor for SexForGrades. And the difficulty with that is that whether you succumb to that pressure or not, you then carry on in your career. And for the rest of your professional career, and I know the women of Ghana can relate to this, whenever you make any advancement, whenever you do anything of any recognition, then there is the immediate insinuation so often, oh, she must have slept with somebody to make that happen. She must have compromised herself or used her womanly prowess, as opposed to using her brain and her experience and her work ethic. And in the case with the vice chancellor, the parallel that I drew was that it happened with such an incredibly high-stakes project as our infrastructure investment, which led to tens and tens of millions in losses for the university. His declarations, not just to me, but also in the council meeting, are a matter of fact, and they were. And even his insinuation over the last 24 hours that I recorded with him privately, I mean, it reminds me of the crazy talk of Mike Pence, honestly, who made that bizarre statement that he would never have with a woman. I mean, as a professional woman, can you imagine how that sounds, that our only value or that every intention that we have is always to somehow seduce a man into getting what we want? That's just absurd. It's perfectly normal for two decision makers when there's an impasse to say, let's sit down and let's talk through these issues.
All right, so you've made the point, but I want to refer to the previous statement that you made, the first statement that you put out. And in there, I see this quote that you ascribe to the University of Ghana Vice Chancellor, and you say, now, nothing could have been further from the truth. And in fact, all of my dealings at UGN in Ghana, it was the Vice Chancellor who made me most uncomfortable when he repeatedly declined to work with me to save the project, but instead said that I was far too pretty to worry my little head about the project, while declaring, and this is the part that I find critical, quote, turn around, everyone. I want to give her a proper hug. So I know well the pressure these women are. So I want to understand in what context you brought this line, turn around, everyone. I want to give her a proper hug.
It's because he said it, and he said he made the first statement. So these are just statements of fact.
Okay, so if he said,
it's very important.
So if he said that,
very important. Very important. You can't let women. You can't take away our power to use and to call it what we want. I didn't accuse him of harassment, and did, especially because I don't want to distract from this deeper issue. That's so important. The enormous pressure that these, and also this insinuation that a woman is only as good as her pretty face or her body to advance her career. That is underlying so much of this abuse. And unfortunately, that's what I witnessed in my engagement with him by the remarks that he made. And frankly, there are like when kind of hug. I don't recall the detailed hug to remember. I know my discomfort, but I'm not trying to accuse him of so many other things that are high. For example, the attacks he made against me, just that I tracked by using my womanly power to coerce his predecessor.
All right, Andrea, now it turns out that you have said something about the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, and it turned out that some reports have come out suggesting that you said he has sexually harassed you. Now you're saying he didn't, or he never did. Would you?
I never said that. It was a headline who said that I said that, but I never spoke to ABC News. Broke that story. My statement is what my statement on social media was.
Would you?
And I think that it skews the issue away into becoming a he said, she said, although there were many witnesses in the room, this notion of the abuse of power and the commodification of women and how we are valued, whether it be our brains or our bodies.
All right. Andrea, I want you to say specifically what you're accusing the Vice-Chancellor of.
What would you say to the Vice-Chancellor?
So the Vice-Chancellor, you've said something about him. He's not too excited about it, or it turned out that it was reported that he said sexual harassment. Would you want to say exactly what he's done wrong to you?
I think a statement later this afternoon, which I to the Vice-Chancellor. I addressed it to the professor. So I think that pretty much encompasses my situation.
Which is exactly what, if you could just articulate it?
Rather than, there was no harassment, there was a complete dismissal of my credibility. The attacks that he's made against, in terms of the convocation meetings, his releases, the slanderous statements to the media in the last 2 years, all of which, by the way, it's about trying to think of the bigger picture, which is how do we allow people to let off some steam and say, so that we can focus on getting those buildings built, which is what everybody should be worried about. All of that, what's the root of it? Where does it come from? Why is he attacking me and not W.P. Carey, the investor who ultimately took me? Because it wasn't me, actually. I was the one that was humbly showing up in Ghana every month, hoping to meet, to find common ground and to renegotiate what's required in order to put the project back. Why is he targeting me? What's the root of it? And then when you look at these other countries, is that there's just a sheer disbelief that, or so it seems, that who either looks like me or is my age or whatnot is capable of executing a project like that, when indeed I did.
All right, you have stated you put out in your statement that you don't have a problem with him and you want to continue the work that you started. Will you be considering apologizing for all the harm that you may have caused him with the remarks that came out?
Because my statements are matters of fact, and so I don't think any apology is required. I think that, if anything, the media is careful about the headlines that they use and treat stories with care, because, in fact, all of the women that are affected to SexForGrades and any harassment, their lives are affected, and so I think that it's an instinct to use sensationalism. One needs to be quite careful. So I don't need to apologize because I never alleged anything that didn't happen or that happened. Statements here. What I will say is that it's in my heart. So my focus, the made it, well over a year, and there was already a judgment. In the event that stakeholders want to finish these buildings, I would come with an open mind and I would engage with him or anybody else, the invitation of the stakeholders to focus on getting those buildings built, because I think that's the most important thing. But I don't want that infrastructure project to get in the way of the grades scandal, because this scandal, it's not a scandal, it's a reality for, honestly, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young women in the world. I mean, it happened to me when I was an undergrad.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Andrea Pizziconi. Andrea Pizziconi is the CEO of Africa SexForGrades, which has had some business dealings with the University of Ghana in times past. We're taking